This episode of Last Lap is brought to you in association with MPI and the Alpha Shop. Welcome along to Silverstone for the third event in the 2013 BRSCC Alpha Shop Alfa Romeo Championship. A welcome return to the Last Lap series for this particular competition, which provides a very spectacular array of cars. The championship caters for 6 classes plus an invitation class, and we have 5 classes represented on track this weekend. To tell us more about this weekend's racing, we caught up with Championship Director Graham Heels.
So Graham, 2013 season seems even more successful for the championship.
Yeah, the championship's looking good for this year. We had a good year last year, and the numbers are looking good for this year. And we've got a very good calendar.
Certainly a healthy grid today at Silverstone.
Yeah, we've got 24 cars, which is a pretty good grid. You know, I think 30 is about the maximum we go, and 20 is the minimum. So we're pretty good. We're pretty happy for this weekend.
Now, one of the great things about this championship, I find, is the spectrum of classes of power of cars and also experience of drivers.
Yeah, we try to encourage, people, starters and very experienced drivers. A lot of Alpha racers have been doing it for a long time, have moved up through the classes. It's a championship that, with multiple classes, gives you the opportunity to start in a production class and move to a more modified class, and as you gain experience, get a faster car.
So Roger, 2012 champion and currently leading the championship as well. How are you finding it? It's still very competitive out there.
Yeah, we've got 24 cars for this race. It looks quite competitive up front as well. And in E is as crazy as ever.
Now, Silverstone National Circuit, fairly flat out speed most of the time.
Yes, it is, yeah. It's good fun. Certainly good in these very powerful but grip limited cars like these.
Thankfully, dry conditions for today's race, and the reigning champion Roger Evans lining up in 6th position in the grid. That's position 2 within Class C. We're looking at the front row of the grid. Anthony George on pole position, and Barry McMahon alongside. Barry in the blue. The pole is the outside here at Silverstone. So Anthony George in the white car, and he takes A1 pole. Back to the second row, Clive Hodgkin has the pole position for Class B. Graham Seeger in Class C, who lines up 5th overall on the grid. Roger McMahon in the Fiat Punto above the invitation pole. Nick Anderson is heading A2. He's 10th on the grid in his Alfa Romeo 33. And then Class E is Tom Eastwood. He's on pole. He's in 11th position. So getting ready for the start. Let's see what Anthony George can do. Anthony took win and fastest lap yesterday, and he makes a cracking start. So too does Barry McMahon in blue, who gets away into Copse Corner, into the lead. Here come the Class E's. 47 is David Penny, the 145, the blue car. We're on board with Tim Perry in the 147, again in Class E. But by the time they get to Maggots and Beckett's for the first time, it's Anthony George in front, but being passed by Clive Hodgkin. Hodgkin in the 75, up the inside, cracking manoeuvre from him, so Hodgkin takes the lead, and now it's the run down the Wellington Straight for the first time. But the sheer power of the Class A1 car, remember the Class A's are the modified cars, so we would expect them to come to the fore, but Clive Hodgkin having a very good run and hanging on at the moment to 2nd position. Andy Robinson in the 156 currently running in 3rd. Roger Evans in 4th place, and then Ray Foley in the black GTV in 5th position behind him. Then Graham Seeger. Great sight these cars make. This, as I said, the 2nd event of the championship season. Round 1 was at Rockingham, and this is the 3rd race of the season. The club encompassing a number of different formats throughout the weekend. As we look at Stephen O'Brien in the invitation class Punto, So Andy Robinson at the moment heading Ray Foley. He's in third place. We'll see what Roger Evans can do. Beg your pardon, that's Roger, isn't it, in the white machine with the red diamond on the bonnet, who looks up the inside. So the reigning champion Roger Evans having a good look, but at the moment nothing doing. Graham Seeger around the outside as well of Ray Foley, but the race leader Anthony George getting away. Anthony, this is his first meeting of the year, didn't race at Rockingham. The overall win there going to Chris Snowden in the A2 Alpha 33. Side by side as they come into the complex. Graham Seeger with the outside line. Down behind him, having a superb run, is the turbo diesel of Darelle Wilson. The lime green car, pretty easy to pick out. Darelle, running in the number 9 machine, did not finish yesterday, but took fastest lap in class. Darelle running in Class B, which is the production modifieds, up to 3 litre and diesel cars, which is how Darrell's car fits into the mix. And look at the handling on that car, running well, and looking at the outside line as Anthony George comes into Beckett's again. Clive Hodgkin in second place. Big scrap on for third at the moment. Andy Robinson still coming under pressure from the reigning champion. Graham Seeger's now been passed by Darelle Wilson. So Wilson will be looking to try and challenge Ray Foley. So down the straight they come, and it's been a good start to the championship. From Silverstone we move on to Cadwell. Just a single header there. As we said, sometimes the Alpha's running in a double header meeting with 2 races. Sometimes it's just the 1 race. The drivers can pick and choose, but side-by-side action here with Andy Robinson on the inside of Roger Evans, and goes through. Ray Foley behind them. Darelle Wilson finding the progress a little bit harder now. He's got towards the top of the field, but a masterly opening couple of laps from Darelle. Up across the line he goes, and very sadly John Griffiths off and out of the race, taken 2 second places in class thus far. John running in Class B, so he's racing technically against Darelle Wilson. This back in Class E, David Peddy with the Saltire on the side. James Ford in the number 2 car, and the number 17 were on board with Tom Herbert. Tom Herbert with a win in round 1 at Rockingham. Third place yesterday. James Ford taking second yesterday and second at Rockingham. And the class win yesterday going to Tom Eastwood. But this is the view from James Ford as they come down the straight and under the bridge in towards Brooklands, but it looks like it's going to be a challenge by James Ford. David Peddy at the moment holding sway. No prizes for guessing his nationality as he go into Brooklands. So Tom Herbert down behind him. So this trio of cars fighting out for the top positions in Class E. Class E, the most popular class in terms of numbers in the championship. Standard production 2 litre 4-cylinder 16-valve twin-spark engine cars. Very cost effective, and as you can see, very competitive as Peddy comes across the line, still holding the lead in class at the moment. James Ford challenging him, and if you look back, Tom Eastwood running in the orange car in 4th place, but Ford looks to the outside line as they go around Copse, gets a couple of wheels over the markers there. He'll have to be careful for that. The organisers red hot about that sort of thing. Back on board with Tom Herbert now into Maggott's corner. Almost 3 abreast. Peddy still hangs on to it, and Ford braving it out round the outside. Can he do it at Beckett's? This is good, clean racing and very respectful racing from David Peddy, who cedes the place. Look how close they get. On board with Tom Herbert, who's now challenging for second in class. And I think he's made it through on the inside line as they come down towards Brooklands. Now look at the Alpha Giulia coming through. That's Ros Shaw, very noted classic driver, an extremely rare car. The Alpha Giulia. So making very good progress, but we're going back up towards the sharp end of things. Andy Robinson is still there. Back to Class E we go with David Peddy down in third now, after holding the class lead. And closing up is Tom Eastwood in the orange car, the Alfa Romeo 145. So even in Class E, great variety of cars in the class. Now Peddy comes out, makes a move, looks down the inside line, perhaps a little bit too early. and can't get through on Tom Herbert. He's a good few legs back as they go through Copse Corner. Wonderful racing from the Alphas. Extremely cost effective as well. Very friendly car if you fancy coming and having a go at motor racing. This is a great place to come and learn your craft. But at the moment, James Ford leads Class E. Through Beckett's we go. Now back to the race lead. Anthony George banging in some very quick times around here. Believe it or not, actually averaging over 80 miles an hour yesterday in the wet conditions, and today has got those speeds up to in excess of 90 miles an hour average, which is very, very competitive lap times. Car number 80 in the mix. Andy Inman running in Class E. Italian livery car is Dave Messenger, so he's running well. There's the Alpha Juliet of Ros Shaw working her way through the field. Car number 24 at the head of the pack there is Tim Perry, who we had the onboard with earlier on, and we're on board now with David Messenger, looking at Andy Inman, who's trying to make up some progress. So Tom Herbert now top of the E-Class, but coming back under pressure from James Ford, who looks down the inside. So this for the class lead. Side by side they go again. James Ford can't quite do it. David Petty's getting back in the mix as well. Tom Eastwood in the orange car making it a quartet for the lead battle. This is great stuff from the Class E boys as they come down the straight, on board with James Ford once again. So James going towards the inside line. Battle hot here, but we'll resume after the break. Welcome back to Silverstone. We're looking at the battle for Class E as we were before the break, and at the moment leading that it's James Ford, Tom Herbert round the outside, side by side as they go into Copse Corner, and we'll see whether the red 156 can do it. But back up at the sharp end, Andy Robinson in second place, coming under pressure from Clive Hodgkin. Hodgkin in the 75 takes a wide line as he goes through Luffield. Anthony George out front still. Andy Robinson in second place. There's the fourth place driver. Roger Evans now coming under pressure from Darelle Wilson. Darelle, who as we said non-finish, took second position and class win at Rockingham in event 1 of the championship, and a gaggle of Class E cars mixed with an A2 machine of Ros Shaw. David Petty now being put under pressure by Tom Eastwood. Petty in the Saltire livery car. The car's going through Luffield. Now Ros Shaw in the modified car, smaller engine of the A2, which is a smaller engine class for the modifieds, started to work her way through the traffic. Had to start at the back of the grid because the grid for today, based on the result of the last race, yesterday's race, which was held in wet conditions. So Ros manages to get past Tom Herbert, who's now actually lost a bit of ground on James Ford, the class leader. So cracking battles going on all the way down the order, and Class E at the moment looking relatively settled in terms of James Ford starting to get away. 3 wide we go here. Car number 14 is Fraser O'Brien, running in the invitation class, running third in the invitations at the moment, Fiat Punto. And Anthony George continues to lead. Through go the race leaders again. Ros Shaw trying to catch up with James Ford, but at the moment not making that much impression. And here's the race leader, Anthony George, running in Class A1, the modified class, of course, the A classes. A1 for the 2 litre and above, and Anthony running in the 156 turbo. So the battle we're looking at, David Messenger, Matt Flynn, and also Andy Inman. Andy in the purple 156, and on board with David Messenger. He's in the red, white and green Italian livery when we see the cars coming through. At the moment, just in the back of shot, as Anthony George manages to go past David Petty. So Petty finds himself a lap down. We'd expect that, of course. Remember, Class E for standard production 2 litre cars. Darelle Wilson, meanwhile, Now Roger Evans has got ahead of Clive Hodgkin, and Darelle Wilson trying to make a manoeuvre. Let's see what he can do. He's lining up for a pass. I think was going to make the move as they went down into Copse. Meanwhile, we go back to the Class E runners. Tim Perry there, car number 24. Had the onboard with Tim earlier on in the race. Anthony George still working his way through the traffic, and now we can see past James Ford, as too is Ros Shaw. So Ros has made good progress. I think she's obviously due to be the next car to be lapped. The Julia Sprint, an extremely rare car, races on the classic circuit normally, but wonderful to see her taking part in the Alfa Romeo Championship. Good wide line. Ros respects the faster car coming through, and the A1 car, the race leader Anthony George, goes across the line, continuing to build his lead. He's got a 20-second lead at the moment over Andy Robinson in the, you have to say, less modified 156 running in Class A1. And Darelle Wilson through and past Peter Sloan, and significantly now past Clive Hodgkin. So Clive's dropped back. One-time race leader gave some terrific entertainment in the early part of the race. Very quick off the line, Clive Hodgkin. So Anthony George, Andy Robinson second, Roger Evans in third, Darelle Wilson fourth. Peter Sloan there in the 75 car, running in Class E, 8th position at the moment in class. But Anthony George still on his way, and this superb run, best lap time in Class A, 65 seconds, just over 90 miles an hour. Andy Robinson's best lap time, a couple of seconds away from that, as we go back to the battle between Matthew Flynn and David Messenger. Flynn in the silver car, on board with Messenger. What's he going to do? Inside line or outside? If he's going to effect a pass, he'd have to go down the inside. That's at the moment what Roger Evans is doing to the back-marking car of Andy Inman. Clive Hodgkin making progress, and David Messenger just got the upper hand in that battle at the moment. A slight bit of contact there with David Messenger, so the guys really do get stuck in. They want to take the cars home in one bit, and of course go to work on a Monday morning. Remember, no professional drivers in the championship at this level, but this does give you a very good indication of what classes are available and how competitive racing is. So David Peddy in 47, still running in third position in class, so on from Class E podium. That's no mean feat. The class leader goes through. There is Tom Herbert, second in Class E, and we wait for the third place cars to come through. We've got a couple of front runners. Darelle Wilson in lime green chasing Roger Evans. Then the Class E runners come through again. So back we go to the race leader, Anthony George, still out front, having just lapped Arthur McMahon in the invitation class. Arthur leading the invitations at the moment in the Fiat Punto, so we'll enjoy his race, but he'll have one lap less than the overall race leader. Ros Shaw running well, and at the moment Ros is winning Class A2. It's only got Nick Anderson for company, so she's passed Nick at one stage during the race and continuing on in terms of the class lead. There is Ros, best lap for her so far, a 71.8, and the 59 car of Andy Robinson running second in the race at the moment. But the race leader, Anthony George, has only 1.6 miles to go to claim his second win of the season, and that means that he will lead the A1 class. We've only seen Barry McMahon and Andy Robinson as competition, so he will lead the championship for Class A1 coming into the next round at Cadwell Park. On board with David Messenger once again, putting pressure on Nick Anderson. That's Ros Shaw's competition in Class A2. So the Class A guys really having a good run. There's Roger Evans third, Darelle Wilson in fourth place. Clive Hodgkin just ahead of Graham Seeger. But here is the race leader, Anthony George, from pole position. Wasn't that quick off the line, but when it counted, got the power down, made some fair passes, and takes the checkered flag to win his second race on the bounce here at Silverstone. Anthony George the winner. So here's confirmation of the result. Anthony George the winner, Roger Evans wins Class C, Darelle Wilson the winner in Class B, and Arthur McMahon taking the invitation class. Ross Shaw victorious in Class A2, and James Ford winning Class E ahead of Tom Herbert and David Peddy.
Anthony, great race there. Interesting start on the warm-up lap. Tell us about that bit first.
Well, we have trouble getting heat into the rear tyre, so I was being a bit too aggressive with rocketing it from side to side, and unfortunately it went round on me, so it wasn't the best start. But we need to get heat into the tyres, and it's not the quickest off the line, so I was beaten off the line by a few cars. But once it gets warmed up and into its stride, it behaved itself, and it was got out into the lead, and that was it really.
Just tell us a little bit about this machine.
Well, it was an ex-British touring car, and we decided to turbocharge it, mainly not just for the power, but to make it a little bit more reliable, rather than having it revving, too hard all the time. And we thought that would be more reliable, but we did suffer with the heat problem, and now hopefully this weekend has proved that we've overcome it, and it should be a good and reliable car. And hopefully just now we need to work on the setup and go even faster.
Darelle, what a great race there, and came from the back of the grid. First position, can't be bad.
Yeah, telling the truth, I knew if it was going to be dry, I'll be up the front, but telling the truth, I was hoping it would wet, telling the truth, because yesterday I had a bad race. I started second the grid, and I got him to lead by the second lap, and I was leading, and I put a big gap, but the turbo pipe blew off, so obviously you learn from my mistake, but obviously started from the back and coming first in class, and I think fourth overall, telling the truth, so I was happy with it.
So James, an exciting race there, winner of Class E, but a little bit of an incident part way through.
Well, yeah, I think it was on the first lap at the top corner. Nick Anderson had a spin in front of most people, so everyone had to make avoiding measures. I lost a couple of places, but managed to sort of fight my way back up towards the end. But it was tough. I was pushed by Tom Herbert all the way, and really enjoyed it. One of the best races I've been in, to be honest.
Tom was certainly giving you a run for your money there.
He definitely was. I managed to pull a little bit of a gap, but traffic played its part, and he managed to catch me up, and we had a good dice, sort of to and fro, exchanging places over 3 or 4 laps. It was really good fun.
Tom, great race there, and certainly you and James were having a bit of a battle at one point.
Yeah, it was very exciting. Enjoyed it very much. Best person really fought. He was a very quick driver. Best person to follow, really.
Now, yesterday, quite treacherous conditions. Today seems to be quite favourable.
Yeah, I don't really like the wet that much. Much prefer the dry. Feel much quicker in the dry. Perfect conditions today, really. Perfect. Couldn't have asked for anything better, really.
So Roz, an excellent race there. Started off the back of the grid and yet came quite up the field pretty quickly.
Yeah, it was great. We've changed the setup on the car from what it was last year. So this weekend was a bit of a learning curve as to what the car was going to do before we go to Monza in 3 weeks. And we've changed the setup quite dramatically. It's made it a lot more active than what it was before.
Now, running something such as this, being a classic and the value of such a vehicle in a championship such as this must take some courage.
Yeah, it did. I must admit, I was quite apprehensive, and I think they were all warned to stay away from me, actually. No door hugging. I was side by side by some chap in, I think it was a 156, all the way around Luffield. We were just hugging doors, and I'm like, my eyes were shut at most of it. Please stay away from me. But no, they played nicely with me.
Well, congratulations, and we hope to see us in future events.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Welcome back to last lap. We are with the BRSCC Alpha Shop Alfa Romeo Championship. We move on from Silverstone to Cadwell Park. It's a wet race meeting here, but there is a drying line on circuit. That should benefit the cars that have come out in force. As you can see, once again, a very well supported field for our 4th race of the season. This one a single header. So the 24 cars expected to take the grid, including Roger Evans, the reigning champion, who qualified out of session. He will line up at the back. Here's the grid, and we'll run through the fastest drivers in class. Overall fastest was Brian Shrub. He's in class A2. Alongside him, the A1 pole sitter, Andy Robinson. The fastest man in class B in qualifying was Tom Andrew. He's on the outside of row 2. Then it's Graham Seeger, 5th position on the grid, but the class C pole, and alongside him, fastest of the invitation runners, Alistair Kellett. He's on the outside of row 3. We go back to row 5. Adi Hawkins takes pole position in the ever-competitive Class E. It's Adi's first race meeting of the 2013 season as well. Lights on, looks like a long wait. Barry Shrub in orange on pole, because we've got a left-hand corner, so it's the outside of circuit for pole. And away they go, great start, but there's a staller. Barry McMahon has stalled. And is anybody going to hit him? It looks like there might have been a rub on the car. Everyone else has gone. Chris Healy gets turned around as cars go on the grass. You can see Roger Evans got held up there as well. It's going to be ruining the fact that he had to qualify out of session. As the race leaders go through, it's Brian Shrub from Chris Oxborough at the moment, the number 60 car for this meeting, being driven by Robin Eyre Maunsell, the 75. Chris Healy away, and I think it's going to be a little bit of martial manpower to perhaps get Barry McMahon back and going as Brian Shrub leads the way. Alistair Kellett looking up the inside of Adi Hawkins in car 98. Adi, the Class E pole sitter, on board with Matt Daly, who qualified third in Class E, so Matt will be looking to improve on that, or of course maintain podium position. Now keep your eyes open for the race leader. There he goes through shot. Brian Shrub in the Class A2 Alfa Romeo 33. Adi Hawkins, Alistair Kellett and Darelle Wilson. Darelle in the second of the green cars, about to climb up the mountain. Let's see whether Darelle can put a move here on Alistair Kellett. This very tight track. There are overtaking opportunities, and Kellett looking down the inside of Adi Hawkins, but that doesn't work for him, and Darelle Wilson's gone past. So we've got two green cars together on circuit now, the Class E car of Adi Hawkins, then the B machine of Darelle Wilson as we look at car number 7, Tom Andrew in the red 147, his first race of the season as well. A lot of drivers have obviously careers that they have to maintain. They have to be selective about the races that they come to, so you don't always see all the drivers at all the meetings. As we look at this great scrap going on at the moment for second position, Chris Oxborough hanging on to it at the moment in the 77 car, and Adi Hawkins goes up and past Graham Seeger in red, so Graham Seeger from second down to fourth, on board with Matt Daly once again, working hard, coming through onto Park Straight, which as you can see curves away, dips down and then up, curves away to the left before they come down into Park Corner. So Chris Oxborough up into second place in the Class A1 Alfa 75. Alistair Kellett losing a little bit of ground in the invitation class car, but still running quite strongly within his own class. Darelle Wilson, is he closing in on Adi Hawkins? Let's have a quick look. No, there's a little bit of a gap, in fact a car between them. Robin Eyre Maunsell about to put on a challenge here and looks up the inside, probably the oldest driver in the field. Remember, we saw him racing last year, and he puts the move on James Ford, car number 23 at the moment, who's running second in Class E. So James Ford took a win and a second place at Silverstone, second place at Rockingham before that, and we'll see what he can do here, but he's got a bit of work to do to try and catch Adi Hawkins, the first of the green cars that went through shot. There is James at the moment running in second position in class. The fact that Adi Hawkins, of course, hasn't raced thus far. Now Darelle Wilson up the inside, but gets tagged by Adi Hawkins. That's a nasty bang into the barrier and a lot of damage on the car for Darelle Wilson. Well, how the officials are going to call that, I don't know, but Darelle was trying to make his way past Adi Hawkins. Alistair Kellett continues on. Now that's got to be a safety car. Darrell's out of the car, which means it's got to be moved. Thankfully, Darelle looks okay. You never quite know what shock's going to ensue, but it's on the fastest, one of the fastest parts of the track. So that surely is going to bring out a safety car. So Wilson was running very strongly there, as we saw him climbing up through the field in the previous round at Silverstone. James Ford goes through. There in 63 is Matt Daly, still holding third position in class. Following him, Roger McMahon in the Punto, running in the invitation class. A little bit of an auto-grassing moment for him. Going through is Tom Herbert, running fourth at the moment in Class E after that podium last time out at Silverstone. Tom so far with 3 podia, a win, a third and a second position. So safety car out, let's see how things go once we get back underway here as we look at the 53 car of Graham Seeger, the Class C GTV. Class C, of course, for productions 2 litre to 3.2 litre cars. Safety car lights are out and we're about to go racing again. Brian Shrub from Chris Oxborough. Then it's Adi Hawkins in 3rd place at the moment. Fraser O'Brien in the invitation class Punto. This is his 3rd race with us and 3 podia so far for him in invitation class. And there's the green flag and we go back racing again. Robin Eyre Maunsell making a pretty quick start. Now the championship, the reigning champion Roger Evans is making progress through the field. Now we saw the white triangle on the red triangle on the white car starting to work his way through the field. There he is at the moment, just ahead of Tom Eastwood in orange. So from the back of the field, having an awful lot of work to do. A lot of car classes come to Cadwell Park and we don't see overtaking, but we are seeing it here. Still in 2nd position is Chris Oxborough, and going through Graham Seeger, then Adi Hawkins, there's Robin Eyre Maunsell. Ex-Roots Works rally driver back in the day, still enjoys his motor racing. Robin in the Alfa 75, looking to try and secure honours in Class B this weekend. Robin's first race of the season as well. I say lots of drivers attracted to the twists and turns, the undulations of Cadwell Park. Wonderful place to come and do a track day, let alone have a race. So things working out well. Green flags being waved. This is still the first lap. Still making progress is Roger Evans. So Roger now ahead of Alistair Kellett and picking them off one by one. I wonder how far he's going to be able to get up the field. He will have been helped a little bit by the safety car. Hard on the brakes there goes Tom Andrew in the number 7 car. Robin Eyre Maunsell, he's got a problem. So out of a key position goes the number 7 car. Tom Andrews' first race of the season. Looks like it's going to be a retirement. It's certainly a visit to the pits. He's got his etiquette about right. Pulls off into pit lane, out of harm's way. Through goes Roger Evans. So Roger making progress. It looks to me like we've got the Barry McMahon car. We saw it on the coming back towards us on the back straight, as it were, about to head up the mountain. So Graham Seeger chasing hard as we go down the order. Car number 62, Chris Healy's trying to make progress as well. David Thomas at the moment in front of him, but Chris Oxborough still running in 2nd place. Graham Seeger in 3rd. So Graham Seeger trying to hunt him down. Back in the mix we go. Chris Healy's trying to work his way through. David Thomas right in front of him. 76 car of Will Inglis, the 145 Cloverleaf. Still 2nd pretty much sorted out at the moment. Robin Eyre Maunsell running in 4th place, and closing in now is Roger Evans from the back of the grid. Well, safety car or not, this is a pretty special drive by Roger Evans, and just goes to show that you can overtake here at Cadwell, and where you've got probably a slightly mixed up grid and the different classes, this is giving the spectators probably some of the best entertainment that they're going to see most of the season here at Cadwell in terms of car racing. So let's have a look and see. In fact, Roger on course for an overall fastest lap at the moment in the 147. Alistair Kellett seems to have now caught Adi Hawkins, who runs a little bit wide. So that pair in 6th place. So Alistair Kellett starts to put the pressure on. Is he going to be able to go past? Remember, separate classes, so not racing each other for points. Kellett, of course, in the invitation class, but enjoying his race nonetheless. Now Robin Eyre Maunsell coming under pressure from the reigning champion Roger Evans, who starts the car at the inside. Very neatly done by Roger. So he goes past and into 4th place. Now ahead of him, Graham Seeger and Chris Oxborough. Now Roger's going to have his sights very firmly set on Graham Seeger, because Graham Seeger running in Class C, that's the man he wants to beat. Still we go back to Adi Hawkins in 98, being told the stewards looking at that incident pretty closely from earlier on with Darelle Wilson. So Hawkins and Kellett, pretty good close battle between the two of them. It's Roger McMahon running second in the invitation class at the moment. So Will Inglis right in the mix, enjoying his racing there, but back to Adi Hawkins, still under pressure, and it seems to be form a little bit of a queue behind them, because James Ford's closing up. James Ford, the leading Class E runner. We'll see if he can stay there after the break. Welcome back to Cadwell Park for round 4 of the BRSCC Alpha Shop Alfa Romeo Championship. A multitude of classes giving us some very entertaining racing. But out front, it's Brian Shrub who leads the race in Class A2. We've got a battle on though, Battle Royal for Class C. Graham Seeger leads Class C at the moment. He's third in the race, that's the red car. And he's coming under pressure from Roger Evans, who started at the back of the field. Class E runners running well. David Petty is at the moment 4th in class, and ahead of him is Tom Eastwood in orange, but also in orange Brian Shrub out front. And now Roger Evans challenging for the Class C lead and goes through on the inside of Graham Seeger. So Roger Evans right the way from the back. Is he going to be able to take second as well? He's got the outright fastest lap of the race. That was on the last lap, 1:44.511. Averaging nearly 80 miles an hour around Cadwell Park. That's a terrific speed, and he's up into third. Will he get into second place? It looks like Chris Oxborough might be carrying enough speed and certainly has enough for lead over him at the moment to take it. Now problems there for Barry McMahon, who's not going to be classified. He did get the car off the line after stalling in the early stages, and incidentally Chris Healy is in 16th place as we talk. He's made up a few places through Hall Bends for the last time they go. Robin Eyre Maunsell running in 5th position at the moment. But Brian Shrub, well, the back marker, that's great driving from Barry McMahon. Pulls over, he knows he's not in with a shout, so lets the battling cars come through. Well done, Barry. Down the hill, checkered flag for Brian Shrub, who wins round 4 of the championship, the 25 car. First race of the year, it's a win and fastest lap. Chris Oxborough coming under pressure, but holds on to second from Roger Evans. Graham Seeger takes second in Class C and 4th overall. There's Robin Eyre Maunsell. It's a sprint to the line between Alistair Kellett and Adi Hawkins, and I think Kellett just got it, but Hawkins excluded from the result. And that means that the results as follows. Brian Shrub takes the overall win at Class A2, honours A1 to Chris Oxborough. Class C to Roger Evans, Class B to Robin Eyre Maunsell. The invitation class won by Alistair Kellett. Class E goes the way of James Ford.
Chris, a dramatic start at the race for all there, but good placing at the end.
Yeah, I needed to make sure I got away well, because I knew Brian might bog down, because I've had this before here, and I'd had the fast starting diesel next door